It has been a year and a half, between a year and a half to 2 years since my last YouTube video. I am in shock because whilst that wasn't necessarily the intention, it later on became the intention because it had to happen. It had to happen. And today I'm here to one say, guys, I'm so sorry for just disappearing, ghosting without a word. But I need to catch you guys up. There's a lot to catch up on. I'm not gonna lie, I was really tempted to just be like, okay, new season of the podcast, let's go, boom. But after speaking to some friends and obviously running into some of you guys in the wild, in the real world, I realized that we're actually people, and I want to share what my life has looked like in the past couple of years because that's really informed one, the person that is here before you today, but also the trajectory and the influence that it's had on the conversations that we're going to be getting into in the new season of According to Be. Back on YouTube, baby. Back on YouTube. So, where to begin? Where to begin? Let's begin where we left off. The last time I was here was in September 2023, and I'm going to be very honest with you guys. There was a lot of reasons why I decided to stop posting content, why I stopped pursuing YouTube after 8 years. Well, no. At the time, I think it was like going to 7 years. Now it's been 8 years. Yeah, time is flying. But it was a lot of time and investment, heart, money, all that stuff that I'd thrown and poured into this. So after, something like 7 years, for someone to stop, there has to be a reason behind it. Oh my goodness. And for me, it honestly just came down to two things. One, my heart just wasn't in it anymore, guys. I was so tired and I felt so disconnected to this platform. I won't lie, I wasn't enjoying the process anymore. I valued more having the outcome of the video and sharing and the responses than actually doing the thing, creating it. And it's such an undertaking to get this podcast out here. And if my heart wasn't there anymore, I felt so misaligned with it. So that was the first thing. And then also, you have to keep in mind that I started the B word when I was 21 years old. I was just about to turn 22, but I posted my first video when I was a little fetus, little baby bakang, 21, looking like 12. Oh my gosh. And when I stopped, I was 28. The gap, the difference, not only had the frontal lobe developed and then some, but a lot of people, while I was struggling and while I was wondering, am I going to continue YouTube? Am I not? They kept on telling me, like, remember your why. And I think that's such an important thing to do. But I could not remember my why. And, when I eventually did, or when I tried to think of what my why potentially was back then, it just didn't, I didn't resonate with it anymore because I was a completely different person. I was a young girl just entering my 20s, and now I was at the end of, this, approaching the end of this decade and reevaluating the things that I wanted in my life and seeing, the choices that I made that led me up until this point. Because the one thing is that, like, if I wasn't, I was not if I wasn't happy in my life, I felt like I was living for an algorithm. I felt like I was living online most of the time. I was living in my head for a potential future and not being present in my life. And every time I switched off the camera or I logged off and I actually tapped back into reality, I was like, this isn't it. I'm not happy. I'm so unsatisfied. Am I just going to continue living my life striving and trying to achieve the next thing and the next thing? But when I actually have to, I don't know, live my life and be present, I realized that I was building a life that I didn't even enjoy, I wasn't even building a life. And so I had to make a change. And yeah, like I said, I think a big thing was just taking responsibility and accountability that all the choices that I made into my life led me up until this point. So one, I knew that I wasn't a victim of my circumstances, or at least I didn't have to have that kind of mindset, but I was a product of my choices. And if my choices led me here to a place where I was 28, I was still living at home with my parents, I had an unstable income, financially unstable, where, we'd be here, we'd be there. There was just nothing going on. And I wasn't, I don't know, I didn't have like a social life really. I wasn't doing exciting, interesting things. I didn't even really know what I enjoyed. I wasn't pouring and investing in me as a person. And a lot of that was going into the bokang that was, here, that you guys know. And so ultimately, if those choices led me to that point where I realized, this isn't working, then I could make different choices to change things, to work on those things and to actually be happy and satisfied. And I told myself that one, yes, things need to change, but I will consider coming back when my actual real day-to-day life is even better than the life or the creative pursuits that I share with you guys online. Has that happened? Stay tuned to find out because, darling, we are going on a ride. So, YouTube, I had to take a back burner to really attend to these different milestones that I mentioned. After doing my life audit, look, I was broke. Okay. So, this creative thing, it was not working. To be a successful content creator or influencer or podcaster, you need regular brand deals. You need, if not that, maybe you create digital products, or I don't know, just a sustainable business model that was not working for me, or that I hadn't developed or hadn't executed in a way that would leave me to the lifestyle that I really wanted for myself. So I realized that I needed to get consistent income. That was priority number one. Okay. With that, though, I also knew that my first love before YouTube has always been television and film. And it's something that I felt like I'd put on the back burner while pursuing this. And I really wanted just to tap into that again, create my own work and see what was out there. I felt like I hadn't really given myself a real shot for that aspect of my dreams. And I was ready to do that. In your 20s, you have like timelines and ticking. It just feels like there's a ticking time bomb of I have to do this before 30. So I really wanted to create something of my own, whether it's a show, a short film, or, a movie or something that I'd been part of writing, creating, casting the whole process before I turned 30. That was a goal of mine. I was like, okay, I have to do this. And unfortunately, the amount of time that podcasting or the girl chats and all that, it was great, but it wasn't the thing. I needed to explore the thing. So I realized that my 9 to 5 wasn't just going to be any 9 to 5, because yes, I wanted money, but this is about alignment. It's about purpose. It's about stepping into who you really are and where you feel you've been called to be, and stepping out of misalignment, for lack of a better word. And so I was like, okay, my work has to be in the entertainment industry, in production specifically, getting that full-time job. Along with that, to get the opportunities that I needed to be, location and environment is everything. Guys, I've been living in Pretoria, and Pretoria is a great city, don't get me wrong. But if you want to be working in the industry, in television and film, you need to either be in Johannesburg, okay, in South Africa specifically, or Cape Town. Those are your two options. So I was like, I have to go live in one of those two cities. And again, I want to live alone, child. I don't want to be out here forever living with my parents. Come on. And then finally, what moving to either of those major cities would do, it would be great not only for my career, but also just for my life, in terms of like the social scene, the creative opportunities, just the things that are always just going on and more aligned with my interests as well. So I was like, baby, Pretoria, baby, I love you. Thank you so much. But we got to go. And so I put that plan into action. I said goodbye to YouTube. I'll see you someday. I don't know if I mentioned this at all, but actually at a certain point, I was just like, this chapter of mine is closed now. I'm focusing on this. I don't know when I'll come back. I don't know if I'll come back, but right now that is just not a priority. And I put that plan into action because, as we know, nothing changes if nothing changes. And I didn't expect it to change overnight, but I knew if I took the necessary steps, then I would get closer and closer to where I wanted to be and who I wanted to be. Enter the job hunting era. If you have ever looked for a job in South Africa, let me just tell you something. That is an extreme sport, okay? An Olympic level extreme sport. Yo, I wasn't ready, but I was determined. And look, through the, I want to say rejections, but honestly, you apply so much that you don't even hear anything from them. So it really is just a lot of ghostings and a lot of like, okay, if I don't hear from you, you gotta move on. I think I probably got like one or two, like, we regret to inform you emails, but I didn't lose hope and I kept on going. I spoke to my network, and my initial breakthrough was two opportunities that seemed good enough and I could make it work, but either one, it wasn't aligned in the sense that it was social media based, or that the money wasn't enough for me to actually, I don't know, take care of myself, to save and to live the kind of life that I want to live or work towards building it, right? I had to compromise in some way. And for some reason, in this season, I was just not willing to compromise. I was like this with God the whole time, praying through everything, praying for discernment, praying for that endurance, and just really asking Him to guide me in every step. And I just knew, I was like, my God says that He has a plan and a hope for my future, and I know I don't have to settle with Him, and I don't want to settle with Him. And I remember at just a point I said, like, God, you can make anything happen. You are also the one who put these desires in my heart, these dreams that have now, like, been in here for years since I was a young girl. Show me that it's possible. Show me that you can do what I believe that you can do, that you are who you say you are. And lo and behold, after I think a month and a half of, pushing, hustling, guys, even I had a trip to Cape Town with my friends. I stayed on a couple of days because I went to production companies and I was knocking on the door and I was like, hi guys, I want to work here. Do you have a job? Okay. When I tell you, hustle, girl. But eventually I had my breakthrough, and it was honestly an answered prayer, but it was far beyond what I really imagined what was possible, but also it ticked every single box and then some. And I ended up getting a job at a global media startup as their multimedia producer for Africa. And we created short form social documentaries around different things on the continent, profiling different, whether it's artists, talents, business ventures, social initiatives, breakthroughs in sustainability. So it was meaningful work, but it was also in production documentary. It was remote. And honey, because it was global, your girl was getting euros. And when the euro to rand, I was like, look at my God. That was a really beautiful moment because I was just, at that whole time, I was just going in faith. I had nothing that really guaranteed. And especially when I rejected the other job offers that I got from those two other interviews, I could have taken them, but I just decided to trust that there was more for me and that God would come through, and He absolutely did. And this was just a confirmation that I was on the right path. And at this time I was like, okay, you know what? I'm going to, save, I'm going to do my thing. And at a certain point when I'm ready to come back into YouTube, I can then put in, some of the money that I earn into the channel. So it's a win-win. But I was like, okay, in 5 years, darling, I've got a lot to do. But yeah, like I said, it was an answered prayer. But along with that, it was also, I don't know, it was just an opportunity for me to start dreaming again, because at that point, it just felt like the doors of the world had opened with possibility. I had plans to travel. I could live anywhere in the country. I could save a substantial amount. And it felt like all the years that I had been working towards something had finally paid off. And it actually was that. I do want to say, as much as when I left YouTube and I was of the thinking that those 7 years, I had nothing to show for those 7 years, or the time and investment. all that whole season was preparation and it was skill building. Everything that I learned, all the work opportunities, the skills I developed that I learned through this channel and building this platform is what actually positioned me and qualified me to get that role. And so it didn't pay off in the way that I thought it would, but it paid off in the way that I actually needed when I was 28. And so right now we're in a new era and I'm like, baby, like let's go. Let's go. We're gonna chop life, we're gonna live good. Then came the plot twist I never saw coming. Oh my goodness, I don't even know how to explain this, but and I wasn't even sure if I was really going to share it, but I figured why not? It is part of my story and I do know like a lot of people, I don't know, maybe someone can relate or maybe you can take something from this, but the plot twist is I got sick. Which even saying that, I'm like, ooh, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Yeah. And it was in a way that I'd never even expected and something I never even heard or knew was a thing. So let me explain what happened. One day, I'm like, how am I going to explain this? All right. So essentially, what had happened is that one day, everything was fine, working, whatnot. And then I got this almost shooting, shocking electric pain. This is the best way I can describe it. That went from my hand on my right arm all the way up to like my elbows, like quick boom. And I was like, what is that? And at first, it had happened like maybe once or twice before with month intervals in between. So I never really thought about it. The third time, I was like, oh my gosh, this is a pattern. What is going on? And then how it escalated from, happening almost in isolation to that happening daily, right? And this is like, guys, if you have been like at an electric fence and you've shocked yourself, or if you've been electrocuted in some way, that's literally how it felt, but coming from the inside of my body. So, anyways, that would happen like a little bit here and there. And then it happened every day. And then it would happen multiple times a day. And it ended up progressing from, just my right arm and it spread to my left arm. And then I would start feeling it in my legs. At its height, I would sometimes, experience this pain, this shocking pain on my sides and even sometimes on my face as well. I developed, severe back pains, discomfort and pain in my neck and in my shoulders as well. And the first time I went to the doctors about this, they're just asking, is your work stressful? Like, you should relax. Maybe it's a posture thing. If on your laptop the whole day, they gave me painkillers and they're like, go, you'll be fine. Obviously, that didn't work. And this is why it's so important to advocate for yourself, to listen to your body, and to not take no for an answer when you know something is wrong. Honestly, this is just like everyone I spoke to, my dad is even a doctor. Nobody we know has experienced this, but we came to the conclusion that this might be a neurological issue. And so I went to see a neurologist, and he had confirmed that according to my symptoms and everything, it is likely that I'm experiencing something called a peripheral neuropathy. And what that is it's peripheral neuropathy is an umbrella term for a host of different neuropathic pain conditions or disorders or diseases, whatever you want to call it, because it manifests in many different ways. And essentially, what it stems from is a damage of your nerves. So, quick science biology lesson, not really because I'm just a girl. I don't really know these things, but I'm trying my best just to explain it to you guys. Is that you have your central nervous system, which is your brain and your spine, and then you have your peripheral nervous system, which accounts for the nerves in your arms and your legs, and the peripheral of the brain and the spine. And so the nerve damage that I had, that I developed, that I don't know where it came from, was in my peripherals. So that's why I experienced all of that pain in my limbs. And this was a daily thing. It was, whew, oh my gosh, okay. It was a relief to find a name to what I was experiencing. However, we could not find the root cause because for different people, it could be different things. It could be diabetes, it could be an autoimmune disease, it could be trauma and injury. And those things, that was not my case. And so we didn't necessarily know what was causing it. And that's difficult because you can treat the symptoms, but to get rid of it, you have to get to the root cause. And so I was given medication that helped in terms of my pain, but that also came with its own side effects as well. Thankfully, I didn't experience the worst of the side effects. But at that moment, I realized that, oh my gosh, my life as it is, but also the life that I was dreaming of, the life that I was actively planning, and all these doors opening to me, just absolutely crumbled before my eyes. Because now, realistically, like the travel, the being on sets, long days, even living independently was something that now at that point didn't seem like an option anymore. I was now a prisoner in my body, or my body had betrayed me. And so I went through a stage of really just grieving the life that, yeah, grieving the person that I was, but also the life and dreams in the future that I was looking forward to stepping into, that I was just about to step into because of this. Um, it also, of course, took a toll on my mental health. And that was very, I'll say it was a scary moment at its worst. And it got to a point where it was just clear that I definitely needed some professional help. And so I went to therapy for the first time. And that was great in terms of my breakthrough. But despite all of that, not all hope was lost. Nah, I was dedicated to, I didn't know when, I didn't know how, but this was not going to be my life forever. And if it was, we're going to like figure out a way for this to become manageable and for it to not be like debilitating when I couldn't do anything. And life was a lot more difficult right now because now I had a full-time job, and then all of a sudden now I'm dealing with this chronic pain condition and my mental health. And so my stress levels were even more out off the roof. And if you are stressed, it's going to make things worse. Stress is one of the things that exacerbates the condition as well. So I really had to make a decision to control what was in my control, because there were so many things that were out of my control. And the cherry on top is that there's this saying that I always have in the back of my mind: when one thing goes wrong, another thing goes wrong. And it's just like, when it rains, it pours. Because at the end of that year, I lost the job that I had. Unfortunately, the company closed down, so they had to lay everyone off. But I'm not gonna lie, I was not too mad at that. I was not too mad. It actually felt like a relief because it was just so much that I was carrying and dealing with. I felt like, okay, I'm going to deal with this work thing a little later, but now it gives me the time to really just focus on my healing and my health and getting to a good place with myself. And lifestyle changes like was a big part of my health journey, my recovery journey. So, from taking walks regularly, movement is really important, Pilates. I had some strength training things because there was some muscle weakness or even some muscle atrophy that we discovered in a lot of, just in the whole shebang as well. And so I was just really committed to fighting for myself and my life, and working with, and really, I don't know, leaning into what was in my control, which was how I lived, not having a sedentary life, eating as well as I can. My nervous system was absolutely dysregulated. This was even before everything had happened. Just the way of constantly doing, and hustle culture and achieving is just a toxic kind of cycle. And I think the stress and pressure of that eventually took its toll. And this is potentially how that manifested, or was definitely at least a contributor to that. And so I had to do a lot of inner work as well, emotional regulation, nervous system regulation, and techniques on working on that, breath work, having tough conversations, boundaries, all that. It was just a complete unhauling of the person that I had always been. And I think a beautiful thing about that time in my life, where I look back at it specifically at that time, where just everything seemed to be going wrong, and in really the worst ways possible, and in a very scary, uncertain way, because now my mortality was at stake. I'm like, what is the rest of my life going to look like? And if something so, impossible and out of the blue could just happen to me, I mean, like, what if I died? I could die at any time. Um, but it's not a, what's this? Those conditions that are, it's not fatal. Like, you can live with it. But it's just like, what's the quality of my life going to look like? But as I was saying, the beauty of it is that it shifted everything, and it forced me to slow down. When they say, if you don't rest, if you don't take a beat for yourself, your body is going to force you to. I was forced to slow down, but also to reevaluate what is actually really important to me in my life. What are the things that I value? I was always so focused on the external factors, and now this really forced me to look into the internal and heal from inside out, unlearn a lot of belief systems, and put myself first, and really be present and enjoy my life in the little ways, be appreciative and grateful for the community I had, for the access to all these medical the access to the medical, I don't know, the facilities, the doctors, my physiotherapist, all these things that are my actual therapist, all these things that are so expensive. It was here at my disposal. My family, my friends, who were just shame. They could not, I could see that it was difficult for them, because they saw that I was struggling a lot, and it's hard when you can't actually necessarily do anything about it. You can't fix it, but they did what they could. They were there for me, and yeah, I just kind of, I don't know, guys. What can I say? I got to a place where I just came to a place of acceptance of, okay, this is my life, not resignation, but okay, this is my life. How am I going to make the best of it? How am I going to still make it good despite everything that has happened to me, or everything that is experienced, or that I'm experiencing? And so, along with, the lifestyle overhaul, now, well, I was like a wellness girly before, but I was a wellness girly now, because I was like, you're gonna heal. But also, guys, listen, it wasn't all doom and gloom in this time period. A beautiful thing of, slowing down and being present, finding joy in my life, in the little things, hiking, huge for me, just being in nature. I also got to reconnect with my own creative self and creative pursuits and the dreams. So, a really amazing thing that happened that year is that myself and some friends from film school, we'd been writing together over the years. I mean, I've written so many things that I never saw come to fruition, but we applied for funding and we got accepted, and we actually received that funding. So, we were able to create what would be episode 1 of a whole TV series. And just to go through that process from pre-production, from development to pre-production, casting, the auditions, the table read, working with actors, rehearsals, all of that, the costume, every single department, and seeing what you imagined brought to life, and actually living the process that I'd always dreamed about. That, while still grappling with my health issues proved to me that life didn't have to stop and that I could do this and I could still move forward, live a good life and achieve my dreams. This didn't have to stop me, right? It just needed its moment for me to attend to it, for me to get to a place where I was stable and I was good. But maybe a lot of those dreams that I thought were like out of my range now, I could still do it, but just at an easier, more mindful, more intentional pace. And honestly, in God's timing, not my own. That was my biggest thing. So that was one thing. I got to work on a short film as well with some other creatives. And, there I got to lean more into the director side of me, a side of me that I didn't really know was there, but enjoyed and was like, actually, I'm definitely going to pursue this in the future as well. I've been able to produce and work on different things digitally, but also work on commercials as well, both in front and behind the camera. So getting back into my performance bag. And now that I actually think about it, it's crazy that the things that I wanted when I left the platform started to unfold, even though the journey was like this. But slowly and surely, despite my circumstances, despite my experiences, I was starting to live out what I'd intentioned and what I'd wanted and what I'd dreamed. Very slowly though. Okay, I'd like it a little bit more. And then at a certain point, I'd realized that, okay, I'm ready to make the big move from Pretoria to Joburg, which again was very scary because I think another side effect or another effect, I don't know, another consequence, that is not even the word I'm looking for, of the whole neuropathic thing, of the whole chronic pain thing, is that it really affected my personal confidence. And I just had a spirit of fear as well. So, one thing about me, I've always been like, let's go, let's just do it. But I would second guess because, yeah, I was just very afraid to try things that I even wanted for so long. So even moving out, I was like, oh, can I be independent? Can I actually take care of myself? What if something happens? What if my condition worsens? And I had to get to a point through a lot of work that I just had to take the leap. Life is not guaranteed, it's not limited. And again, to continue to pursue my dreams and the life that I wanted, I needed to make the change. And I needed again to believe that my circumstances did not dictate my reality or where I could go, and that my future, God could move me forward into my future and into a good future. Um, and so I just had to tap into that courage and do it. And I did. Look at me now. It's been great to prove myself and my thoughts and my fears wrong, that one, yes, I can live independently. Of course, I will not die, or, I can take care of myself and still implement all the things that I need to do for my health on my own. I can enjoy life. I've been having friends over, hosting, been going out, whether it's to the theater, whether it's, cycling in the city, whether it's art classes, and really just enjoying myself and tapping into who I am and exploring and being curious. And so that leads us kind of to here. I guess throughout that time, or throughout at some point last year, I did have an inkling of, maybe I do want to come back to the podcast again, but I wasn't necessarily ready to be on YouTube. I wasn't ready to be perceived again. And so I did a couple of episodes of audio only, which was nice because I got to kind of explore what podcasting and storytelling could look like with only audio and very storytelling based. And then I got to a point of, you know what? I miss my people. I'm ready to come back. There's conversations that I actually want to have. I feel like I've lived enough life and I've had a lot of more conversations, and I'm interested to do this again. And I actually am committed to the process. I'm doing it for the process as well as whatever the outcome is, and not just for a specific result. And yeah, that brings us to where we are now, to the new season of According to B. We are definitely back. I've recorded some episodes already. It's been really good. Honestly, a lot of stuff has gone wrong, guys. A lot of stuff has gone wrong, but I've had so much fun, and I just feel very at peace and very content and very certain that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I'm choosing it. I'm choosing it. I'm here because I want to be here, not because I feel like I have to be here or I have nothing else to do. I've explored, I've seen, I've heard, I've survived, all of that. But now I feel like I want to, tack back into this beautiful community and this beautiful space that we've created, and using all my life experiences over the past year, but even just beyond, and the person that I am today. A lot has changed. A lot has obviously changed. I'm not the person who left this platform. And so even my thoughts and even the topics that we're going to be exploring, I'm really excited to share that with you guys. And not even in the sense to tell you like this is the truth or this is what you should think, but it's just an offering of a different perspective, and it's an offering of and a place for us to learn, and a place for us to open up our minds and hearts to maybe what can be possible for life, what it looks like to build a life that we love, what it looks like to build a life on our own terms versus lives that we thought paths that we just had to follow. And so that's really the mindset and the heart beyond the mindset and the heart behind this new season. So I'm so excited to get back into it. And yeah, that's literally where I've been. It feels good to be back. Let's see how long I'll be back for. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. Consistency and commitment is my word and my theme for this year. So we're definitely going to do that, but I will be communicative. As you know, your girl is dabbling in oh my gosh, I actually didn't tell you. I almost left this video without telling you. So health-wise, where am I at now? So, um, funny story happened. Once I'd accepted my situation, embraced it, and all that, I'd moved out to Joburg towards the end of last year in September. About 2 months after that was festive season. So I came home for festive, and then I realized that the medication that my doctor had given me that would helped with the meds that I took with the pain every single day, I'd left it behind. And every time I don't take the meds or I skip a day, the pain comes back and it's even worse, right? So I just knew that I was going to be at home for a couple of days. So I was bracing myself for kind of a relapse or things to just be so much worse. And I was waiting the next day. I was like, oh, okay, nothing, no pain. Because at this point, hey, I don't know what was working, but I'd got into a place where the shooting pain, it was quite stabilized. It was happening here and there. And so I think that was also a reason why I was like, okay, I can actually get back to life now, because at least I've got these babies and the lifestyle changes and everything that actually helped, right? And yeah, gave me my confidence back. So, anyways, now I don't have my meds and I'm just waiting. This is around Christmas, and I'm like, yo, it's gonna happen. It's fine. When I get back to Joburg in like a week, I'll be start again on my medication and whatnot. And then nothing happened. So for those couple of days, I didn't take any of my medication and I didn't have any pain at all. So then I thought, okay, let's see how long I can go without taking any of these meds and stuff, or without taking my meds before the pain comes back. Guys, wait, December, I have to do the math. Okay, that was December. January, February, March, April, 4 months medication free. And I want to say 98%. I'm 98% pain free from that chronic pain. That's shooting the electric shocks. Call them the shocks. But it's been 4 months, and the Lord has really answered my prayer of healing. And it's been a healing that goes far beyond just physical. It's been a complete inside out. And yeah, I just have him to thank. So that is the conclusion of where we're at today. Yeah, Jesus, please don't let me experience anything like that ever again, or don't let it come back. Guys, let's just pray. Thank you. But we are walking in faith. And honestly, it is a testimony of just, yeah, I don't even know what to say, but all that to say, we are good now, we are back, and we are better. So tell a friend to tell a friend to like, comment, subscribe, all the good things. And I will see you next week and the week after and the week after that for an all new season of According to Be. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you soon. Bye.